Well, my name is Will Gilmer, and I farm in Alabama, in the United States. And my family has been in the dairy business for around 70 years. My grandfather started the herd. It's been continued on by my father and then myself. And ultimately, we got up to our largest size we ever had. We had probably 225 cows milking at a time, and a total herd of somewhere around 450 head when you consider the replacement heifers that go along with that. But dairy farming in southeastern United States is undergoing some challenges just because of economies of scale. It's getting to a point where the best business decision is either have a really large dairy, which we don't have the land to be able to handle that, or be very small, do niche marketing with manufacturing your own dairy products and whatnot. And we don't live in an area with enough population to justify doing that. So over the last few years, my father and I have been transitioning from dairy into beef production. We finally made that. We finalized that earlier this year. We sold our remaining dairy cows and now have a beef herd of around 150 what we called mama cows. And ultimately, we're looking to have a whole herd size of somewhere around 400, 450. The foundation of our dairy herd were Holsteins. Originally, we had a few different breeds. Holsteins was exclusively what we milked within the last, say, 25 years. And in the process of transitioning to beef, we used Angus bulls to breed those Holstein cows to come up with a Holstein Angus cross, and that's what we're using what we've used to establish our beef herd. So I first heard about Moocall on social media, and I probably saw it on a farming website maybe as well. But what really stood out with me was seeing it on social media and people talking about it. And I had seen other, people using wearable technology for dairy cattle before. But this one really kind of piqued my interest because it was not, most of what you see is RFID or GPS based, and this didn't look like it was. So it kind of got me curious. Well, how in the world, if it's not measuring temperature or this, that, and other, how is it working to know when a cow goes in labor? And just right off the bat, I saw it. I was a little bit skeptical at first, but it proved itself right off the bat. Worked, and very first heifer we put it on, it gave us a notification early one morning that she was going into labor. We checked her. From us just looking at her in the pasture, we couldn't tell that she was. She wasn't really showing a lot of what we would consider visible signs that she was in labor. So we brought her in and we checked her, and lo and behold, she had a very, very large calf in her that she was not going to be able to have on her own. So we called the veterinarian that morning, and ultimately he was able to deliver the cow or deliver the calf via C-section, save the cow, save the calf. And had we not made that phone call to him until we saw visible signs of distress, it could have been a process where we might have lost one or both of them, or certainly she would have been under so much stress, her recovery would have been a lot longer. If a cow or a heifer having her first calf has a prolonged labor, a very stressful labor, there could be damage done. She's going to have to heal up, and a lot of the energy that she's taking in over the next few weeks, instead of being able to convert that energy to milk production, it's going just to heal herself. Also, if she's not feeling very well, if she's still recovering, she's not going to eat as much, so therefore she's not going to make as much milk. And if she doesn't get that system going right when she begins producing the milk, it's going to limit how much peak production she's going to have. And if it limits the peak production she can have, it's going to limit how much production she'll have over her entire lactation. So that's that's very important from the dairy standpoint because you are selling the milk, but even on a beef standpoint, because how quickly you can market that calf she is raising is going to be largely dependent on how much milk she is feeding that calf. A cow that's not producing as much milk is not going to raise as big of a calf. So therefore, you're either going to have to invest more in feed for that calf, or you're going to have to hold it longer to get it to a marketable size. So either way, the key, whether you're in dairy business or in beef production, minimizing the stress of labor on a cow is critical to what you want to do. And this device, as I said, it lets you know if something's in labor before your eyeballs tell you she's in labor. So if there is an issue, you can check it out and you can get ahead of a lot of problems before they get to a point where they're critical. The quick and easy explanation I'd give for a Moocall device for another farmer that was asking me was just simply, it's a small device that you strap on the top of a cow's tail that measures her movements as she's approaching. You put it on as she's approaching her calving date. It monitors her movements, and it can tell based on her movements when she is going into labor. And it'll give you a notification after she's had an hour of unusually high activity, which looks like it indicates labor, and then it'll give another notification after 2 hours. And it just allows you, if you're off doing other things, maybe you're off site, it gives you the opportunity to know, hey, if this is an animal I need to check on, I need to go ahead and check, make sure everything's coming good, or at least be expecting a calf. And if I can't get there myself, I need to call somebody who can go check on her for me to to check that out. So it just gives a peace of mind, and it's particularly useful on animals that are a little bit smaller or more narrow on the rear end that you think might have a problem having a calf, or if you just have a handful of cows. And if you have a very small herd, every animal is calving successfully is critical. So to protect that investment, having that, it's like an insurance policy almost, so that you can just be able to know when this critical event is happening. You can get eyes on that cow just as soon as possible, but also it takes the guesswork out of it. When you're in the cattle business, there's a lot of times you'll look at an animal, so well, I know she's going to calve tonight, and then a week later she calves. So, and you've been the whole time you've been getting up every couple of hours every night, go shine a spotlight in the pasture to check on her. If she's in a pasture, go over to the barn and check her out if she's in the barn. And this takes a lot of that out of it. So it gives you a peace of mind, but it also lets you breathe a little bit, and it will do the watching for you. Put it that way. It'll do the watching for you. I never had any problem with the setup. I never had any problem turning it on. I mean, it's very simple to use. The instructions are very simple to get it set up. Anybody that can operate a cell phone can operate a Moocall device, no problems. I've never had a case where I've had a Moocall on a cow that she calved and it did not alert me. So I've never had any surprises like that. And as for my earlier example, when I said the very first dairy heifer we ever placed it on, ultimately we needed to call the vet and do a C-section on her. Just alone, had we waited another 4 or 5 hours before we called the veterinarian, even if he was able to successfully deliver the calf and get her healed up, that extra stress would have impacted her whole lactation. And so I would imagine that the milk she gave over the next 9 or 10 months, the milk she would not have given potentially because of all the stress of going through that calving, itself probably would have been the value of that lost production probably would have cost more than what the device and subscription would have. So in that case, just one calving being able to prevent a problem can often say, justify the cost. And over the course of a season, if that happens 2 or 3 times, then it has easily paid for itself. And that's just say in the first year of it.